guys, how's it going? This is DavidSebastian, coordinator of mentoring arts programming for Wayside. I'm excited to be with you guys today. We are back with our virtual tag program. Today is the first day that we're going to be working, first day of linear development using on the YouTube platform. I've been having a great time with that. You know, you guys have been really supportive. So we're going to continue being on here on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 3. I hope that everybody can make it at those times. I would love to hear from you guys, and if you don't like something or if you do like something, I think that would be very. So the next thing I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about is about my program. My program is created through a partnership with Wayside and the Department of Mental Health. Wayside is a human service agency out of Framingham. I've been working with these guys for about 7 years, and what I'm doing is creating arts programming throughout the area of Central Mass with young adults from 16 to 26 that are interested in using art as an engagement method or as a therapeutic method or creative method, you know, whatever you guys want to do. I think that art is extremely powerful. Many of the young adults that I meet are just really interested in being good at something or being the authority on something. And I think this is a completely positive use of time. So I'm trying to sort of like inspire some young adults to do this work. You know, it's not about you creating what I'm creating or anything like that. It's just sort of like watching art be created and hoping that that makes you feel like, you know, you could do some as well. Sorry about that. I am sorry for the back of my head. I am here in the home studio again in Shirley. I'm here to hopefully we can create something good today. There it is. Okay, let me tell you a little bit more about the rest of my programming, and then we'll get right into this thing. So the rest of the story is that I'm using the funding and the partnership to create arts programming, and during the regular process of what we do is Wednesdays and Fridays. We're in Tempo Young Adult Resource Center in Framingham at 68 Henry Street. We are there Wednesday and Friday from 10:30 to 3, running Open Studio programming. Open Studio is basically, I've stocked the studio there with as much gear as I am familiar with using, which is quite a bit. You know, I consider myself to be a multimedia artist. So we normally have young adults come in who are in that age range, 16 to 26, to use Tempo as a resource center. Tempo is a really great program dedicated to young adults and helping them transition from being a young adult to being an adult. They help with all sorts of crises like homelessness and drug problems, unemployment, and also like necessity type assistance. There's a computer lab there, a washer and dryer, a small food kitchen, a shower. They're out there to help young adults with anything that they might need. And I am there as yet another time-consuming activity because time management is so important to young adults these days. And excuse me. And just as an outlet. Obviously while we're creating artwork, we talk a lot, and sometimes that's just all a young adult needs. It's just to spend some time with someone who's listening or talking or whatever. I believe that's one of the missions, one of the methodologies that Tempo uses. And I began in this work at Tempo, and their sensibility is definitely I feel like pivotal and super important to mine. So in any case, if you guys are with me significantly, you'll know that we've been using the last two programs were basically about the same idea, which is creating and using an airbrush stencil. Today we're going to be doing another one of those that's a slightly different one. The last few have been really successful, and I've had a really, really great time with them. So today we're going to create another one and jump in and spray it really quick, and hopefully you guys will gain something from that, and that's about it. I'm not going to spend a real lot of time working on creating the stencil, because I have showed you guys how to create it in the last couple of programs a few times. So we're going to go kind of right into it. Sorry about that, I got to get a little bit closer, or I can't see you guys. Can you guys still see me? Yeah? Alright, cool. We got a couple of things going on in the studio today as part of what we're going to work on. The first is that I'm working with a camera here, a desktop here. Behind me is my video mixer and the actual, my phone, or like an upper wide, a top camera, and the setup for the spraying that we're going to do. So please bear with me in the process of switching cameras in the middle, because we're going to work here, do this stuff, and then turn around and work there. Alright, I'm sure that seems simple, you know what I mean? But for me it's a little bit challenging, so that is what we're going to do with that. So I'm just going to run this through this quick, like I said, and we'll kind of go from there. So the first thing we're going to work with is Photoshop. This is my YouTube. Don't judge me. Alright, so we go in here. Actually, we'll go in here and get a new one. Oh, actually, I don't even need that. Alright, let's go over there. Sorry about that, guys. This is Photoshop 2020. If you guys are interested in doing any working with it, it's a really, really great deal right now, which is that they charge by the month. You know, when I was younger, years ago, when I started working with Photoshop, you had to pay. It was about $1,500. Was it incredibly powerful and pivotal to being able to do this work? Yes. But it also was pretty expensive. So today, it's come down dramatically. And I think right now I pay about $37 a month, because I've agreed to be buying it for the whole year. Great investment. Photoshop, of course, does honestly anything. Graphic-wise, it's probably like the #1 program of all time. So here's what we're gonna do. Just listening to me talk, right? Hold on one second. Alright guys, so now you can at least see me talking, rambling to you. Alright, so I've already worked on building this, so I'm just going to show you guys sort of like what we did and sort of how we did it. Alright, so this is the image that we created of Cthulhu, of a Cthulhu image. This is sort of like, it's kind of silly ultimately, but I decided that I kind of liked what was going on with it. This is a couple of different layers. I took everything in here I found online, so anybody can find that stuff. You know what I mean? This is the desktop that I use in Photoshop. If you've used it, the Windows workspace. It's probably one of my favorite things in Photoshop, being able to set up a number of different workspaces. I haven't figured out how to delete them yet, but creating them has worked out. That's why you see here I have multiple desktops, multiple workspaces. Easy for me to say. Alright, so what we did here, as you can see, we started with this pretty realistic skull stencil. Only problem I have with this is these teeth. These teeth are going to be really small, since the stencil that we're building is really small. I think the high side of the stencil is about 4 inches. So it's something like, or actually I think it's 4 wide, sort of an unlimited space tall, but we wind up having to keep it in proportion. So I think it was a little under 6. So 4 by 6 postcard is kind of small, and this skull would only be a piece of it, right? If you look here, you can see that the skull is a small piece of this, and this image right here, right here is, let's get her in inches. Bam! We can't have that. Well, I think I reduced this in the other program. But in any case, this guy should be about 4 wide and slightly taller. You know, it's not quite a square. I think it's just off a square. Let's check it. Command D is deselect. Very cool. Something I've been using like forever. Want to get it right in here, centered. And then we can probably bring this top down a little bit. Right. So we want to try to get it as tight as possible with the selection. Right. Pretty close right there, top and bottom, about the best we could do. Stop going back to percent. Yeah, so about as much as we could do. We're going to grab a new layer, and we're going to use our paint bucket tool, which is set to black. We're going to switch it to white. Let me click out here. Weird. Oh, that must be set to inside. Command Shift I is inverse your selection, which is what I had wanted to do. So it is what it is, you know what I mean? I did want to really be on this whole background layer and be back behind everything. So now you can really see, you know, what's going on. So what I decided to do is to edit out the teeth and replace them, just leave the jaw open and dark. I brought the skull down just a little to do that, and let me see, I'll grab the skull for you. So you can see that the skull itself has a little bit more detail in the edges and stuff, and I wanted to preserve those at the same time as not having to have 100 incredibly tiny pieces. I think at the end of the day, they would be, you know, a 1/16 of an inch long, each tooth, the big ones. So, you know, we got to pull the stencil after we produce the stencil, and you don't want to be in there picking, you know, with, you know, a needle, because you have to get that close. I will tell you guys that most of the tools that I use are needles and X-Actos and that kind of stuff. I'm not going to show you guys a lot of that today because I've already pulled it, and we're kind of good to go. Alright, so this is what we're going to use for our stencil. I'm going to leave those here and simply edit them out a little bit further along. We're going to open our next program, which is Silhouette Studio. Right there. Silhouette Studio is a program that ships with our cutter, which is called the Silhouette Cameo. It's a really cool device that basically is a printer with a knife instead of a gun. So any of the lines that you give it, it's going to cut them. We can cut any surface we want, including, you know, chipboard and stuff like that. I am barely using it to its potential by cutting acetate and Frisket. The last time we worked, I was talking a little bit about Frisket, and today I want to tell you guys a little bit more about it. This program is really, really cool and really powerful, and it'll give us, you know, kind of whatever we need. Like I said, I had already kind of gone in here and done some stuff. So let's see. Hey. There we go. What do I want to get away? Oops, other way. This program's not bad. You know, it's kind of fun. Whoa, that'd be too much. See what happens if we click that. Nope. Alright. So all we're doing is placing this large graphic into that tiny box. This program is it's really fun to work with, but it is a little bit on the cantankerous side. You know, you do things its way or the highway. You know what I mean? So now we get in here a little bit closer, obviously, so we can actually see what we're working on. Silhouette has tearaways, same idea as Photoshop, so you can move your tools to wherever you need to. It also gives our graphics are transparent so that we can see where we're working. By default, the move tool stays proportional. This piece I'm using here, this piece of material that we're moving this onto, is 3 by 4.5. I decided that was a good size for that. I have a little more than 4 inches in the space that I'm working with, but it sort of made sense to give a little bit more space on the side to make the height of the image not feel so constrained. You know what I mean? So what you do is you place this in here so it fits. I mostly go, as big as you can, use as much of the space as possible. Once you have it in there, in this program you can jump up to this 3 lines and it's alignment. This is of course not going to align it to the cutting surface. It's going to align it to the media that you've set this up using. In here is just a couple of other things: show cut border, show print border, and its rotation. You could rotate this thing all the way around if that's something that you're amused by. Or if you had your piece of material stuck on the bottom of this and you wanted to cut you can set this up to cut multiple pieces at once. So you could place different pieces in an order. There's a lot it can do. Like I said, I'm barely using it to its potential. All right, so the next thing that we would do in here would be to open one of our panels, and for this one we're going to use the trace tool. You can leave these 2 panels open, these 2 menus, or flyaways, or whatever you want to call them. The one we're using here is the select trace area. You want to stay just outside of the artwork that you're working with. Make sure you have enough room to drag. I personally am the guy who is running out of room and dragging only part of it. So once you got your entire image, you let go, and what it's going to show us is what the cutter is going to cut, right? Now you can see looking at this that the last time I worked on it, I decided not to edit the teeth. And that was a judgment call, So I decided I would edit them in the cut piece in case any of them worked, because having a little bit of teeth is almost as good as having a whole bunch. I mean, the intention here is already not all of our teeth, we got 30 teeth or something in our mouth. There's, I don't know, like 10 there. So you don't have to do everything, And then you just take a look over here at the options, depending on what you want to do. If we click just outline, it's going to just do the edge line, which totally could have happened too. If you do that and you're careful, you could get a very thin black line around the artwork that you created. And that might be really, what you're looking for, especially if you've done it in white. Or if you want to do it as simply an isolated area, it might be kind of fun. Now the problem I've had with this is that it makes it relatively difficult to pull smaller areas and keep everything together, because if we pull a line that covers the edge of our entire artwork, the artwork is going to fall out, right? So what you have to do is this, the last time I was talking about significantly, and here we are again, it's the islands and bridges concept, which is that you have to make sure there's a bridge that's going to keep our 2 pieces together. Now this sort of is annoying, but you don't have to make huge ones. You can make many small ones. And then when you're done doing your outline, you take the stencil away, you take a marker and you fill in the tiny little stencil bridges that you had to make, and it would work out. I actually think I'd like to try this to just get a different kind of a look. But instead we're going to do solid fill. And solid fill is going to cut out everything inside. So it's the idea of, instead of cutting the edge, we're going to cut the whole piece out. It's going to drop away and leave us this image. All right. So the other thing we want to talk about is, if we were simply building a stencil, right? We wouldn't want this to fall out unless it was going to be our first piece where we spray the area we're going to spray with the graphic. So like the obviously the filled silhouette of this image. And then we would go and place the details on top of that, which in this case would be the skull and stuff. But because we're using Frisket is like Scotch tape in sheets. So you set the cutter to 1, and it'll cut through just the top layer of the sticker and create a positive sticker, which is one that will isolate the paint that we're going to spray on it. Instead of telling us where to spray it, it'll tell us where not to spray it. So this image here is what I'm going to use, and then we're going to build a second. Well, we got to finish this out. Once you've selected this, you simply hit trace. All right. And once we've hit trace, that image is in there. These little spots and stuff I left for the purpose of hopefully like having his jaw referenced, if not evident. So now this piece here is what we would send to the cutter. So we're going to do that, but I have basically already done that. So we're going to jump over here and do one more thing, which I believe I've also done already. Let's see. All right, well, we'll just make one up real quick. So we don't need this one, and we're not going to use this one just yet, so we can kind of put them over on the side. What we're going to do next is we're going to place a square around this to so that we can, basically I want this image to be black, leather jacket black, and then I want to spray my color around that. So basically to kind of make like a patch, but a black writing on a white field patch. So and I am definitely trying to emulate sort of like the design of motorcycle jackets. Don't judge me. But it is a Cthulhu-based jacket. So the whole story about it is that. I can show you real quick. Turn this off. Turn this on. Nope. Hold on one sec, guys. So this is the piece that is the back of that jacket. And then we've done a number of pieces on the sleeves and on the additional sides of the back. Now we've moved over to the front. All I've done on the front so far is a small H.P. Lovecraft stencil. Cthulhu was created by H.P. Lovecraft in the 30s. And so now we are going to try to finish it up. You know, today hopefully will be the last one. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this image and we're going to put a box around it. We're going to spray that box, I believe, with white and then possibly with another color and kind of see how it goes. You know, I want to paint this image here very softly in white around the edge so that it just leaves that negative. Excuse me. Okay, so like I said, I've already cut this and I've already placed it where I need it to be on the jacket. So the only thing we have left that we have to do is we have to pull out a square that that is going to encompass this image. Now we've already done that in the other in Photoshop, so it should be kind of easy here. Whoops. All you do is pull out an image that just fits outside our character here. Maybe out a little bit more. And then you can move this anywhere you want. Whoops. Oops. That's funny. All right. So we got to go back to our move tool. And the arrows work on your keyboard. So this line that you see here moving is going to be the size of our square. Now the only thing I'm concerned about is when we spray it, it's going to be pretty tight. In fact, like up here, we got to have a little more. All right. Okay, so that looks pretty good. All right, so we want to deselect that, and then select our background, and we can pull that away. Back up a little. So we can take this away, but it's ready to go when we're ready to go. Then we want to go over here and jump back into our trace panel, which we actually had open already and I forgot. So like trace area, we jump over here making sure we're outside of our square and pull a trace. Usually it shows us what it's going to cut. Not sure why it did not. In any case, we would select that, hit trace, and then we'd be able to pull this piece away. Why that did not happen, I'm not totally sure. But I have already cut all of these things. So we're basically ready to go. So that's what you would do. You'd go into cut, and then once you are all set with that, you click this here, which looks like a printer. This brings you into this menu right here. Sometimes it gives me trouble. And we just close that up. And oh, that's because I haven't turned the device on yet. So that's what we would do, and we would cut that out. So now, since we've done those things already, we're going to jump over here to take a look at like how to physically stencil it and the airbrush and those type of things. Okay, so if you could just hold on for 1 second, I just have to turn around and switch my stuff. Okay, hold on. Alright you guys, sorry about that. That took entirely longer than I felt like it should have. But I'm back. And so for this part of the job, we're going to wear some gloves. These particular gloves are nitrate-free black gloves. They're mostly made for tattooing. I like them. I just have been using them for many years, and they've always worked for me. I just ran out today, and I'm very concerned in today's world to be able to get more of them. I definitely should have tried to order them sooner. Okay, so let you take a look at where we're working here. Hold on just 1 second. All right, you guys see me okay? So this is the jacket that we're still working on. We've done a huge amount on the jacket so far, and now we're up on the sort of chest area. Like if I'm wearing it, it's going to be like around right here. And this is the positive frisket stencil. Yeah, I guess it's still called stencil. The positive frisket stencil that we built in the computer. This went, fine. I had a good time with it. Just gotta find where my other piece is. There we go. This piece here is our square isolation area that I think we're going to use here. Yeah, that's a little bit bigger than I wanted to use, actually. Might bring some additional masking in. I wonder why I thought that would be a good size. We might have to run the cutter after all. You know what I mean? So this is how we're going to run this. We're going to, this outside piece is, we'll tape that down. The inside piece is Frisket. And then, as I said, Frisket is pretty much Scotch tape, but in sheets. And I can show you, Scotch tape. Oops, I'm losing a marker. Frisket looks like this. It has a checker surface on the back, and in the front is the sticker. Like you could see, sorry about that. You could see here that it has kind of a shine. Maybe you can't because now the light is entirely too bright. But there's sort of like a difference. It's not paper. It's a little shiny. So this is what we're going to use to cut out that's what we use to cut out the skull and the skull stencil. This piece is in acetate, and acetate is a hard surface, somewhat of a hard surface for the purpose of continuing to be able to reuse it. I try to reuse stencils whenever I can. Of course, custom stencils are built for a specific application, so sometimes it's difficult to reuse them. You know what I mean? So you just you decide in the moment. Now this square, pretty good chance I might use a square again at some point. The other stencil, I don't know. And so this Frisket stencils, Frisket masking of any kind is 100% one use. We can use the cutter to cut this 20 times, but it's really just one use. Because if you don't just use it once, you're going to find that it's incredibly difficult to work with as pieces of tape stick with pieces of tape, which is not true if the stencil is this big. But if the stencil is 3x5, you'll find it's really hard to get all the pieces out. In fact, if you take a look in this area right here, I lost a whole half of his leg. So I took that out of the stencil and glued it down to the jacket so that I could still use it as masking. You know what I mean? And it doesn't look like it's staying that good. One of the tricks, while you're working, if something doesn't want to participate, is being able to use an old airbrush needle to just hold that spot down. Spray it and try to hold it down. One of the things that I always try to do is hold it straight down where you're spraying so that hopefully you don't stencil the needle. This is an airbrush needle, by the way. Okay. Just 1 second. Oh, not what I wanted. Hold on 1 sec. Gosh darn it. Sorry, guys, that's totally unprofessional. I think I'm going to run the cutter one more time. So we want to jump back over to my computer and just take a look at the size of this box here. The box we were just looking at. This box here, and run it to cut, because I feel like this particular one seems a little bit large. I don't want it to be quite that big. So we want to try to cut this guy again. I was thinking maybe we could cut it here again, and then just mask the hole. But it doesn't seem worth it to save this particular piece of acetate, or to keep this piece of acetate with this other hole cut into it. If we have this hole, we're going to start creating a place for overspray to get on the rest of the jacket. All right. How straight that cut is not wicked relevant, because we're going to tell the computer, exactly how big it is. Let me just grab the mat. There it is. Oops. All right. So here is the cutting surface. All right. So this is the cutting surface that goes inside the machine. I got the machine set up over there. So now all we have to do is take the small piece that we were just going to use, which is this one, which I'm sure you guys can barely see. Is that better or worse? I feel like it's a little bit better. We got to try as best I can to stay away from this area here. Come back. Because we don't want to touch it or anything like that to possibly move it. Here we're going to take this piece and we're going to place it right in here on the cutting surface, on the cutting board. Now, one of the things that's cool about the cutting board is that it matches the on-screen option, and the mat itself is cut into 1-inch squares. So super easy to get going. I'm going to jump into the machine here again for a sec. We're going to set up our desktop, set up our design page, go in here, right? And we're going to take this guy and delete him. And then we're going to try something different. It's pretty sure you could simply drag a line and be able to cut that. This is more like the size I want this to go. Just the outline. All right, let's try that again. All right, why don't we do this? All right, this whole guy goes up here. See over here? There is another piece there. All right, there we go. This piece of material we're using is 1, 2, 3. Let's call it 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 by 8 again. Let's make this guy 8. All right. It'll give us our trace menu. See if this works this time. No, did not work. So I've got to think of another way to do that. Not sure, but we could take this piece right here, say copy, go over here, this is Photoshop, say Command New, hit Enter, hit Paste. Now we can take a look right here and see that it's 2.566 by 2.594. And we can just go up here and say New and write those numbers in. Point 566 and height 2.5. Oops, wrong one. By 2.59. Say, check it. All right, so there we go. And now we can just take our paint bucket tool, the paint bucket. Hey, our paint bucket tool, fill it. We switch from, you can use X to switch from your foreground color to background color. Grab the paintbrush tool, which is that's G on the keyboard for keyboard shortcuts, and we just fill it. Now we do Command Shift S or Save As, and click Save on your computer. I already have a folder that I've been working with, which is all Cthulhu leather projects. In here you can save this artwork that we're using as whatever you want, but you should save it as a JPEG because that's the smallest file type and the easiest to work with. And then we just hit save, enter, go back over here, click this guy, say delete, Command O is open. We have our square is the last thing we made, so we open the square, we make this guy really small. As we were saying, you know, like it's kind of a pain that it doesn't back up more. This, you know, I was thinking like, why is this considered full screen? It's considered full screen because this is the size of the media we're working with, right? So this is the size of the piece of material we have glued to the cutting board. So we got to make this fit, right, inside where we're working. Something that'll help is we know what two sizes we were working on, and if we don't remember, Command Option I gives us our sizes here, and then over here, this is the actual size of the graphic that we're working with. Oops, go back here. Move this guy all the way down here so I can see it between the two windows. All right, see if it worked. Yep. All right, so right in here, in our studio program, what do you call it? Oh, right. So that's media. So, all we have to do is make this guy a little smaller, right, until we get it to the size we want. But right here is one of the sides, and this is the width. So we know if we look at the bottom, it's 2.59, 2.593, and then we go to the other one, and we say 2.567, 2.567, and then we just press enter. This is how big we need this cut to be, right? Because we decided that that's how big we wanted it to be around our artwork. So then, remember I was just telling you guys about this 3 lines. That'll center it in the media that we're working with. So this is really all we need for that. You can click over here, click away, select trace area, drag and drop. Now, obviously it's going to cut that square out, and now we can get ready to send it to the silhouette. Alright guys, so what we're going to do now is we're going to run that through the silhouette real quick. It makes some strange noises. Since it's a square, it's going to go really quickly. And while it's doing that, I'm going to flip back over to the other area so that we can get ready to painting. Alright, so that's what we're going to do right now. Take a look at everything that's set the way we want. It looks fine. And we just hit send. Oh, whoops. You got to make sure you finish the job. Sorry, you guys. So we set up our trace area. Now you have to click here and say trace. Then we got to remove this. And back here is what we're going to cut. We go in here and it says we're going to cut that. Otherwise, you've said no job and it's not going to do it. Oops. All right. So this guy's cutting. We are ready to go right in here. As I said, that cut really quick, right? So now we're back. We are back. So this is the surface that we're going to use. You know, this is the stencil that we built. I'm sure no one, including myself, can actually see the square we cut out. Oh, you know what? We got the square out wrong. Got to put her back in. This is what happens when you're rushing. Alright, let's try that again. Should mostly be in exactly the same spot, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Well, so what happened there was, number one, I forgot to hit trace. So you want to make sure anything you're doing operation-wise, you hit enter, or you hit engage, you know, whatever that, like that. And then what happened over here on the cutter was that I had accidentally set it on the wrong type of material. If you look up here in the corner where it says material, you'll see that right now it's set to acetate. Last time it was frisket. So like I was telling you, frisket's very, very thin. Acetate is, you know, imperceivably amount less thin. I think this particular acetate is about 4 millimeter. What was it? Oh, it's incredibly thin. So it's very small. I don't know what it is. But here is the stencil that we worked out. Which totally didn't work out. Alright, we're going to try that guy just one more time. I'm using transparency film, which is... Yikes. Don't want anything to pop up. Transparency film is very inexpensive. I think I bought these on eBay, and I'm pretty sure they were, you know, like $5 for a case or some crazy thing like that. Much, much less expensive than frisket, because frisket is an airbrush specific thing. It's made, you know, like there's a bunch of things that they've, you know, engaged to make frisket awesome, and that's really cool. But you don't really need anything like that when you're making just a reusable stencil. You know, you can use something that's not that good. So now we're just going to do the same thing again. We're going to hit this guy, hit cut again, or send again, and hopefully it works out this time. That noise is the sound of it's an auto blade. So it sets back to 0 and then forward to whatever you set it to be. This particular cut, I think, is a 2. So not crazy, you know, a lot. One of the things I don't love about Silhouette is it's hard to find settings online for multiple surfaces, materials. I wish there was more of that kind of stuff. Sounds like it's done, so I'm going to go grab this guy. Be right back with you. We back. All right. We've cut this guy again. Hopefully it's enough this time. All right. So there we have our next cut stencil. Oh, this one looks way too small. Man, we are striking out today. Let's take this guy and measure how wide. It is 3.4. I thought that's what we did. Let's see. Oh. Always got to remember to take the remnants off. One more time. Take a look at what our size is. Go back to design. Let's lock these guys up. Let's say our width is 3.5. Let's try that again. I'm going to go the same way. I don't know if you guys are learning anything from this. This is how to hopefully fix something you've screwed up. So here we go again. So this is our third cut. This one, really too big. Last one, too small. It's just like the three bears, right? This one is too small. Thought it got stuck. Uh-oh. That's not good. Yeah, that one got screwed up. Yeah. Unfortunately, that one got screwed up. Man, we are striking out today. Let me do something here. Alright, let's try one more thing here, guys. See if we can get this thing fixed. Right. In here. Really, pretty much the best thing to do is make sure you go down the edge. Right? Now, what happened in the machine just now is that it wasn't stuck down enough. And that's just me not putting in enough time. Don't rush, even though, you know, you're on camera and you should rush. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So now we're going to run, okay, giving me a warning saying that it crashed the last time, which I'm pretty sure it did do. Stuck on resume. I did not want it to resume. Just go ahead and cut it again. It's a relatively simple, should be a simple cut job. It's now taken an eternity for me to pull it off. Don't judge me. I probably would judge me, actually. But it's coming out now. You can hear it. If you take a look at the screen there, if you take a look at the screen here at the bottom right, it actually has a counter. Right now it says about 10 seconds. So 10 seconds is what we're looking for time-wise for a job. Sounds like it's now done. We're going to switch back over to the other desk. All right, we're back over here once again. Let's try our luck again. One of the best reasons to use the sticky, I believe the reason that they designed the cutting board to be all sticky is because when you peel it off, it holds on to the cutout. I really dig that. All right, now this is looking too small again. Gosh darn it. Yep, too small again. All right, we're going to try just one more time, and then I'm going to go offline and scream and cry in the street. Flip this guy over again. Got to make sure you take the undercut piece off. And we're going to get probably about sides look pretty good. It's the top and bottom that don't look tall enough. So we'll put that top and bottom in just a little bit bigger. All right. Now we're going to head back to design again. Now we're going to unlock this guy, and we're going to make this guy just a little bit more. 3.65, which is only a few inches. Let's undo that. Let's go over here and make this one 3.65. Looks a little better. Let's undo that again and just see what happens. Lock this up. Make this 3.65, 2.65, 3.65. All right, so now they're still proportional, and it's sort of ready to go. Jump up here to send again. You guys are going to be better at using the Silhouette program than me. Let's stay here for a sec and see what happens. Oh, we've been together for about an hour and we still have not gotten to spraying. It's kind of frustrating. I've been working on this project for about a week, so I'm the worst one. Like, I'm the one that's taken the longest. Almost there, guys. All right. Let's try this for a third time. Is it only the third time, really? It feels like more. It feels like at least the 10th or 12th time. All right. Looking at them, they look dramatically similar in size. But this one definitely fits slightly better. Maybe I'll try it the other direction. Let me see. Still looks a little too small. It's my eternity of masking there. Just cannot get a break with this one. Let's try to grab an exact measurement of how wide we want it to be. So it looks like we're looking about 3 3¼ by 3¼ by 4. Looks pretty good. I'm trying, I always am trying to save media. You know, anything you can save is always good. Like I said, these are stencils that I, in theory, could use at some point, but they're not going to work for this project because, once again, it has not worked out. So we're going to go, we figured out about 3½ wide and about 4 tall. We're going to put this piece in one more time. Make sure it's pushed down good. You can use any size media, which is cool because you just keep you can just keep using things again and again. Get it down real good. One more try. Just got to change the signs here. One sec, be there. One sec, you guys. By 4. All right, let's try this again. All right, 4th time's a charm. Actually, we've only been together a little under an hour, actually. Right now, I think it's 58 minutes, so not too bad. We're getting there. Getting a little closer to where we're going to work here. Move me out of the way. Unfortunately, I feel like my lights are creating so much of a shade that it's sort of hard to make it out. I can't have the light that low because then I can't see to work. I think we have finally found something close. Oh, maybe I'm pushing it. I think we're going to wind up using a combination. All right, so now we got the positive stencil in. And we have the isolation stencil, which we're going to tape down right where we want it, which might take a sec. Got to get it sort of right where we need it. Wish I had a little more light over here. Alright, so we get our first one in. I think I'm going to use the bottom of this one. Just like this. There we do. So what I'm trying to do is two things. Number one, get the stencil stuck on as much as possible and as flat as possible. And also make sure that the stencil under it is also as flat as I can get it. Not sure why I'm using so much tape today. Usually I don't use quite this much tape. And usually it sticks to the jacket a little better. Alright. Definitely, one of the hardest parts of doing this job has been the jacket itself. It's sort of fighting me in some ways, and in some other ways it's been really, easy. So I shouldn't complain. It could be harder. Underneath the jacket, I have a book that I'm trying to use to prop up the jacket itself so that so it'll stay, for me and stuff. That didn't help. All right, a few more small pieces. So what I'm trying to do is to get these lines in so that they stay, but I'm also going to hold them as I work. So this is a guide as opposed to really like a straight up stencil. Liking that. I wish there was a way to put a little bit more in the sleeve here. Maybe just lay the sleeve out a little better. Alright. This looks pretty good. Make sure the jacket is pulled both ways as much as I can. Really make it flat. And if we pop this tape, then it wasn't in a good enough place anyway. Okay. Okay. So now we got our outside stencil. Some places are always going to curl up on you. So for those, I stick this tape underneath. Never work with tape in rubber gloves. It's inconvenient. Alright, put this guy in here. So this guy's going to help us with our bottom line. We'd have to put one up there too. Oops. Gotta make sure it's not going to affect our lines, which means it has to go under more than that. Alright. That was not cool. I'm sure we've moved everything around. Alright. There we go. Same thing I said, you still have to hold the stencil as much as possible. I want to make sure every part of the skull is flat and every part of the rest of the positive stencil is flat. just a little bit. All right. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to begin with the airbrush. So the airbrush that we're using today is the Grex. I can't remember the number that it is, but this is a Grex. Really great product, does the job exceptionally well. I really like working with it, and I'm having a good time. Unfortunately, I misplaced my lid, but maybe it won't be a big deal. Right here. Unfortunately, my kids keep going in my stuff. Oh, there it is. And moving my things around. If you can imagine what a studio looks like when kids have been in it, it's scary, is what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some more of the color we've been using on the back. This is Old Bone White. I have sort of regular white around somewhere. Wonder where the regular white went. Hold on just one sec, guys. Take a look at this, and we'll be right back. Did I put that big jug of white? Can you really go too far? All right, you guys. We're back. Whoa, whoops, wrong camera. So this is a big bottle of Wicked White. I wonder if you guys have any thoughts. Go on and make a comment, and what should we use? Createx Opaque White, or the color we've been using, which is Old Bone. Old Bone illustration color. I think for the sake of fun, I think we should use this one. But before we use anything, we have to mask the rest of the jacket off. Right? Now another thing we got to do is we got to get the sticky board out of our area. Make sure we took the square off, because we don't want to take any of the stickiness off. These mats aren't real expensive, but they're not super easy to find. Like you gotta, Joann Fabrics have it, and you could definitely go to them online. But if you need it that day, you're doing a project and you're like, then you're in trouble, because that's the only place I found them consistently. They occasionally have them at Michael's, but I believe Michael's is starting to not carry Silhouette products anymore, because the last time I was there was about 200 Crickets, which is another cutting tool, and nothing else, like no Silhouette stuff. All right, so I use the same masking, pretty much over and over, because it doesn't matter. You just have to make sure the paint side that you've painted on isn't down, because then it can transfer paint, obviously, from one surface to another. It's a pain to keep all the masking, but it's also like a good way to go. Masking everything out is really good. Watch out when you're placing your masking. Same thing I said about the stencil. You don't want to put it in a place that it's going to affect your stencil. So you got to make sure you keep everything, the tape and everything, outside where you want the tape, where you want it to go. Unfortunately, this guy doesn't seem to have a ton to tape to out there. I'm using tracing paper for masking, but you can use really anything. Only thing I've used that I would say you probably shouldn't use is newspaper, and it's only because it leaves residue on what you're working on. So that's not, particularly, something you want. Now, it doesn't leave it on everything. It leaves it on some things. But any of it on anything would be a pain. You can remember the old silly putty thing, where you could take the ink off newspaper and transfer it to the putty. I love that. But the reason that works is because of standing ink on the surface. Newsprint holds onto the ink, but in a pretty loose way. So you can get that ink off. So you can imagine, if you masked everything out with the paper that had loose ink on it, then there's a chance you could transfer some to whatever you're working on. Maybe it wouldn't matter as much on this jacket, but it would definitely matter if you were working on a big white piece of paper and you were just putting your initial stencils in, because then it would mess with you. Same thing I said about allowing this tape to cover any stencils, any of the stencil. Looks like we're doing pretty good on masking. Still going to have to be real careful, but see if we can zoom in a little bit. That's about all we got. All right. Looks like we got plastic there, masking here. You also want to look out a little bit for real big bubbles in your masking, because paint can get under that. Now, of course, this is overkill because I'm controlling the airbrush a little bit. So you're gonna, be spraying it intentionally, and you're not gonna spray off the edge, if you can avoid it. The hard part is as I said, is still a challenge, is getting the leather flat enough. All right, so like I said, we're going to use the Grex. There's nothing in it right now. We're going to put the paint in. Again, I was saying this is wicked. I never have these sizes. I'm not really sure where I got this particular one, or if the hole will even work. Might have to poke that guy out a little. I might be forced to use old bone white. Huh. Nothing's worse than when something doesn't want to work with you. I have a little pin around here somewhere. That's a good sound. Just made the, that's air sound. Still doesn't want to work though. Alright, well, I don't mind the other white. Oh, I do have still another white, actually, that we could use. If that empty or this guy right here is marker paint, also white. This is called Signal White. This is a Maltau product. It works fine. The only difference between it and airbrush paint is fairly subtle. The viscosity of the Maltau is slightly lower than the viscosity of Wicked, or of what we were just using, the Createx. Oh man, everybody's gonna be like this to me. All right. So we got a little bone white in there still, but you know what? I think it's okay. I like it. This is for a refill for markers. Very cool that they offer a marker refill. Unipasca does not, and I like Unipasca's markers really a lot, but not having refills, it's been a bummer. All right, looks just making sure the paint was working. So now we're going to swap over to just looking at this and seeing what we can get done with it. I'm not gonna lie. Every time I start another piece, I'm pretty nervous about it. I need something I can use to hold down since I can't find my tack. Paintbrush. Oh, there we go. Yay, needle. All right, here we go. So first thing we want to do is get right in on this stencil, and we want to, you know, really try in a soft kind of way to start filling just around the character. You gotta try to be careful to stay 90 over the artwork as much as you can, because even if it comes up a little, if we're right over it, we should still be able to get its definition a little. All right. That's a little strong there. Okay, now this guy over here, I'm gonna have to try to push the leather down. This guy over here. I don't even know if you guys can see this. Okay. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm working about 25 pounds of pressure here, so not a lot. You'll see, if I do that, I will stencil my own finger. So what we have to do here, got that little detail on the end. Same with here. Okay. Now we're just going to give that just 1 second to dry. And see how it came out. See our skull's coming up a little here. All right. So now we're just gonna, you can hit it with air if there's nothing on the tip of your airbrush. Okay. So you can hit it with air to dry it real quick, but that's not a super huge necessity. Marker paint, even more so than airbrush paint, dries really, really quick. Airbrush paint might be the fastest drying paint I've ever worked with. It feels like sometimes it's dry before you even start using it. Okay, so now the deal here is we want to put this character inside a white box. So that's what our outside stencil is for. again, if you try to stay 90, even if the stencil comes up a little, you should be able to use it. Okay, that's basically what I wanted to happen there. So now we would wait a sec for that to dry, then we would pull it, and we can go and adjust, especially having sprayed it with marker paint, with black marker paints. I also have a white that we could use if there was a white spot that didn't work out as well. But generally speaking, I've been mostly adjusting the blacks. I'm using the Una Pasca blacks. This is a 0.7 millimeter. It's a taper tip. Works out really, really well. I also have even smaller ones. A smaller marker looks like this, but this is a green. So I have a whole bunch of other markers that I could use, but that 7 millimeter is the same size as the smallest marker I have. The smallest black, which is this marker looks like the smallest one. It's the same size as this one. This one has more paint in it because it's bigger. But that's all you really need here is those. I'm not sure how much airbrush paint we have left, and I'm not going to clean the airbrush yet, because what if we don't like what happened here and we want to just redo something, I will tell you that once we pull the stencil off, it gets a lot friggin' harder to be able to adjust things and fix things and that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to take a look here. I feel like most of the stuff I wanted to happen, looks like we've got a pretty good edge on everything. Just wanted a little bit more around the skull itself. Sorry about that, guys. You can just look at my stomach while I'm spraying. All right, so before I take the outside masking off, I'm not going to lie, I'm nervous as heck. We want to take off the skull is maybe the most important piece, right? I don't hate that. Oh yeah, that looks pretty cool. That looks pretty cool. Now, let's see what happens when we take the rest off. This top masking is luckily mostly connected to itself, so we don't have to pull everything off at the same time. We can just pull off our paper mask. Okay. I think it looks cool. Part of me wanted to spray it with red, but I guess I decided not to. Know what I mean? So we're going to pull this last stencil, take a look at it, and then probably go in and just edit a couple of lines to make them punch a little harder. This I like to do with all of the stencils on the jacket, and I think it helps. One of the things you want to watch out for when pulling airbrush stencils is never pull anything too quick, because when you pull something really quick, you catch a little piece of wet paint, you can create what's called caterpillaring, which is basically a line of wet paint. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I think that looks really, really good. Now we're going to try to move it in front of the camera a little bit more. Maybe come in on it a little more. Alright, you guys see it okay? I feel like the box came out nice. We got like a little loss over here, but it almost feels like that's what happened with the jacket. So all I'm going to do is come in here and adjust some really small and simple things that I wish I'd looked a little bit more punched out. You know, overspray is always a challenge in airbrushing. But if you work like this, you can continually adjust and change lines to work better. Right? Leather, like skin, has to be really stretched to be able to work on it. I think I'm going to just leave it. You know, I don't think the black lines look bad, but I just kind of feel like maybe I should just leave it. Let me see if I have a black here. Green or something. What do you guys think? You think that we should keep working on this? Or not? You know, we're about an hour and a half in. I feel like it went pretty well, or I think it's going pretty well. I like how it looks, and I do also like the fact that it feels like a little bit idiosyncratic. Like it feels like the the jacket, it's beat down a little bit because of the quality of the jacket. Because of the process. The thing I'm worried about is if I put a line there, I put a line here at the top. So you see the middle of the top there where it's slightly blown out? I wonder if it's possible to just wipe it. A little bit. Oh, there we go. Nice and cleaned up. Alright, I'm going to leave that guy like that. Thought about maybe putting a couple more teeth in. Maybe that'll be cool. Let's throw a couple more teeth in there. Let's see. Definitely have an extremely small white. Alright, so you see this guy? Very small. I'm just going to leave it. A little bit of teeth are better than a lot of teeth. Right? Cool. Well, I think that's what we're going to do for today, you guys. I know we're stopping a few minutes early, but I think that we kind of killed it. You know, we kind of did exactly what we wanted to do. So that's kind of it, you know. So that's the stencil we were doing today. That's an example of working with both Frisket, acetate stencils, using marker paint in the airbrush, using the airbrush to create, to paint on leather. And that's kind of like, that's really what I wanted to show you guys today. I believe I don't know, I'm thinking that might be it for working on the jacket as far as on live, on video, on live stream. We'll start something different. I have my next project that's lined up is an RC truck that we want to make look like it's working for Team Cheeto. This is the kind of gigs that that you get. I think it's going to be kind of fun though, and it'll be what did I say? I think it's like a 7 or 8 piece Chester Cheetah stencil. which I'll also be using the cutter to create. So I'm hoping you guys will come back and hang out with me, and we can do some more work. All right? So you guys have a good day and stay